Welcome, my little couch potatoes, to the comfiest courtroom on the internet. I'm your host, Llama, and it's time for dramatic testimony, overruled objections, and absolutely unqualified opinions. So grab your snuggiest blanket, some delicious snacks, and get ready to watch court with your internet besties. This is Couch Court with Llama.
Well, hello, my little couch potatoes. Oh my gosh, it's so funny seeing you here. It's like I haven't seen you all day. But hey, we're here for another stream for today, our second one of the day. There's going to be a third one later. But so the reason we have a separate stream today is because I want us all to watch all the Karen Read trial interviews because I haven't watched any of them. As those of you that watched when we had the verdict yesterday, I was in the middle of a power outage and all sorts of stuff was happening all over the place. So I didn't get to see really anything because by the time we got power back, it was time for our members only. So we decided, you know what, we'll just bundle all these little interviews that are out now and watch them all together because that's what we've been doing this whole time. So here we are, and this is not going to be a very long stream, guys. Just to let you all know, as much as I love spending every minute of the day with you guys, and I do, I have another show I have to prepare for tonight and maybe lay down or something. I don't know. But I'll say hello to chat. Hello, People Liz Mom. Oh, number one DNA, that touch DNA on that like button. That's right. If you haven't yet, please like this stream since it's a new stream that lets everyone know we're live. Share on social media, all that fun stuff. Yes, listen to Angie. Everyone be like Angie and hit that like button when you come in. Hello, Lady in Gray and Sam and Dave. Oh my gosh, where am I? You went through the portal, not the Lori Vallow Daybell portal, just the Llama portal, which I hear is much nicer. And we got Savage. Hello, welcome in. Welcome in. Oh my gosh. So, okay, where am I going? Scroll down, Llama. Scroll down. Oh, thank you, Amos, for the super sticker. You're so sweet. I love your face. And Amy Beth, good afternoon. And sunny days. Look at that. You all made it over here from this morning. I love that. Sometimes things work. And today's one of those days. I'm finally back using StreamYard on Google. I don't know what happened, but we did it. So what we're going to do first. Oh, hey, there's Terry. Hey, girl. Hey, in the doctor's waiting room. Hopefully getting good news. Hey, vamos. Hey, hope you're doing great. So what I have first for us to pull up is, there we go, this one. So this is right when Karen's walking out of the trial yesterday, the verdict. It's a very short, she only talks to the press for a very short few minutes. So we're going to watch that. Then we're going to watch the juror number 4, who spoke with TMZ this morning, which it's like 10 minutes long. So I don't know how that's going to go. And then we have Turtle Boy, who spoke out to the media. And then we're going to end today with, unless something else pops up that our people can find, is Karen Read's father at the end. So I think that's what we'll do there. Anyway, so let's see what Karen said yesterday after the verdict. And you guys let me know if you can't hear. We tested it out in the stream before we went to this one, and everybody could. So fingers crossed. Oh, I should. Well, first, let me check the volume myself. Okay, yeah, it says we're good. Okay. Oh, Evamos, thank you for becoming a member again. Appreciate you and all your support. Love that. Okay, let's see what Karen has to say.
She does speak.
This is from... Wow. You hear that? Thank you, Ivamos. Thank you for the gifted membership. Right here. Appreciate your support.
I just want to say two things. Number one is I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team financially, more importantly, emotionally, for almost 4 years. And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have. And my team. Thank you.
So you want to see it reopen? Karen, you want to see the case reopen? You the case be reopened?
No, the case cannot be reopened.
Alan,
this case is over.
No, I mean, the case is larger for someone else. What did you say? What did you say about justice?
I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it to Karen and her dad. Her dad has a comment. Let her dad make a comment.
Mr. O'Keefe, what did you say about justice?
Mr. Reed,
I want to acknowledge the strength of our daughter, Karen, the support of the entire Reed extended family. I want to acknowledge the greatest team of attorneys. Our first one that we found was David Yannetti. We added Alan Jackson and Liza Little. Bob Alessi, you know about. All right. It was a fantastic team, but we needed them all to defeat this. We thank everybody for their support from the heart. We love you all of the content providers who help spread the word. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
The investigation.
let's do this.
Look, oh my gosh. I cannot believe how loud that was. By the way, that's the only interview there that they did outside the courtroom. Oh my gosh. That's, I'm going to do my best not to get choked up and cry. I did pretty good yesterday, so I'll try again. But like, wow, how powerful to have that kind of support. Just, oh my gosh, my heart. Okay, so let's move on. And hello, everybody coming in. If you haven't yet, please hit the like button so you let everyone know that we're live. I don't know why I did full screen like that. That's annoying. Just a second. Do that so that way I can still see you guys while it plays. All right, so share this tab instead. There we go. All right, so this is the TMZ interview. This is with juror number 4, I believe it was. Juror number 4 has decided to speak out. First one, I do believe. This is with TMZ. I know a lot of people are like, TMZ, I get it. But they do get good interviews and they do get good info. It's true. A lot's changed in the last 20-something years they've been around. But here we are. Anyway, let's see what they have to say. Oh, wait. Let me turn the volume on. That's
on murder and manslaughter. Was it because they had reasonable doubt or because they thought she was innocent?
So I think for the jurors, there's a mix of some people think that she was definitely innocent, and the other people, there was a lot of reasonable doubt, at least to where we didn't want to convict her.
That's really interesting. So could you give me a breakdown there? Roughly what percentage of the jury felt she was innocent?
I mean, I can only speak for myself. I think that she was innocent. It's hard to tell exactly what people think deep down. There was a lot of things thrown at us, evidence. So it's hard to tell what truly.
So you say in your head she was innocent. Does that mean you think she was framed by people inside that house?
It doesn't necessarily mean that. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to John. Really, I was only presented a limited scope of what happened at the night, and I could only base my opinion off of the evidence that was shown in the courtroom. So I don't really know if there was a cover-up or not. I know that's the big conspiracy around it, but I don't really know. All I know is that there was a lot of holes in the investigation. Whether they were deliberate holes or not deliberate holes, it's kind of hard from me sitting back to know that, what actually happened.
So what was the feeling of the jury? Because Alan Jackson and the other lawyers raised the issue that she was framed by cops and that they would have turned that house upside down if they really wanted to do an honest investigation, and that he was not hit by a car. He was attacked in that house, bitten by a dog, and then put outside to frame her. Did people on the jury, or some of them, buy that argument?
I think some of them bought that argument. It's just hard to tell, though, because whether or not we think that there was malicious intent, we were only presented with the facts that they didn't go into the house. So, you know, there's an example of reasonable doubt. So, like, there's other examples of reasonable doubt. So even if you want to completely buy into the theory or not, that wasn't what we were tasked with. We were tasked with finding, convicting, or, you know, deciding on this person's fate based on the proof and the evidence that the Commonwealth was able to present. And, you know, there was a lot of holes in the investigation.
Yet you went many steps beyond that, because you say, in your view, she was innocent. What compels you to think that?
Well, one thing that I think that compels me is we did a lot of review of the tapes, and it seemed to me that the videos that we could see from the car after the alleged incident happened, that when we could see the taillight, it was lit up red where it shouldn't just have been red. So that leaves to me a conclusion of, well, how come it's red in this video after the alleged, collision happened, and then it's, it's not, it doesn't have any red pieces where it should be red.
So in other words, you do not believe that SUV made contact with John O'Keefe?
I don't believe that the SUV collided with John O'Keefe.
What was the initial vote with the jury when you first took your vote?
We didn't do an initial straw poll. The judge recommended to us in the courtroom that is not a good way to do it. We broke down, what we did is we broke down each charge, and we went from top to bottom and discussed everything thoroughly, and, did our best to do right by, the Karen Reed and the Commonwealth.
Was there a division initially?
Yeah, there was a division. But that's what we're there to deliberate and talk about all the evidence. There was 2 months of us sitting there, them throwing all this information at us absorbing the information, going home, thinking about it, reviewing it in our heads, and we get to the deliberations, and now we have an opportunity to discuss. Some people went into the deliberations and they were still unsure after two months, and that makes sense, because there was a lot of things going on. There's a lot of information. How much can you weigh one thing or another thing over,
Yeah. What about jurors who felt initially she was guilty? Were there any of them?
Yeah, there were a few jurors that think that had thought that initially when they went into the deliberations, that was their standpoint, and that's what we were there to do, to talk through all that and bring up every single piece of evidence. Is there an angle of reasonable doubt to where we're not really sure? Like, are you really sure? Are you 100%, or are you 99.9%? If you're that 99%, we can't convict you.
What brought the ones who felt she was guilty over to the not guilty side? Was there anything in particular that seemed to resonate with them?
It's hard to tell from my position. You'd have to ask them about it. But in my opinion, I think it was just due to the poor investigation. There's just too many holes. Mm-hmm. And, it's hard to prove that the collision happened. So if there's reasonable doubt that happened, or that there may have been foul play, if there's room for that, then it's hard to come to a guilty verdict.
What happened when the jury initially said they had a verdict and then said, oops, no, we don't, and then 15 minutes later they said, oh, we do? What happened there?
That actually is kind of interesting. So the envelope, it was sealed and it's locked away. It'll never be looked at. But on everything on that initial slip was the same as the slip that was presented.
But why did they pull it back?
The pulling the back was for the OUI charge.
Driving under the influence, essentially, drunk driving.
Yes, driving under the influence. We in our deliberations, we had decided there was enough evidence and proof that she was driving under the influence. And
So, how did the defense do? How did the lawyers do, in your view? Her lawyers.
For her lawyers specifically, I think they all did. I think that all the lawyers on both sides did a really good job. They presented their case as well.
The police, you say the investigation was poor. The defense said it was more than poor. It was corrupt, and they pointed to the lead detective who had been fired, didn't testify in your trial. Did that have an impact? And did you think it was a corrupt police investigation?
Oh, good question.
Do I think it was a corrupt police investigation? I don't know. There's no way for me to know. I wasn't there. There was just, there was holes in the case that left for reasonable doubt. I think they could have checked some boxes or done some things differently. But do I know that they were corrupt? Absolutely not. I don't know that there was any corruption going on. But do I know that there wasn't enough proof or evidence secured by the police to convict Karen Reed? Absolutely not. There was not.
Fair to say that your view was that her SUV did not make contact with O'Keefe, therefore she did not kill him, but you don't know how he died.
I would say that's fair to say. I don't know how John O'Keefe died, and I do not believe that there was a collision between the SUV and John O'Keefe.
Did all of the hoopla around the case, the people outside, did it give you comfort in reaching a verdict like this, that you saw there was a community behind your point of view, or was it irrelevant?
Honestly, that made the pressure a lot harder, and it did not give me comfort. It made it a lot harder to block out everything and come to a decision.
Why did it make it harder?
It made it harder because all of the eyes are on us. We were told we're the most important people in the courtroom, and they keep us away from the crowds of people in the front of the courthouse, but we do see them, and I don't think that having all those people swayed me to go either way. We were only tasked with looking at the evidence. We were 12 jurors. We had to back up how we felt in this for our decision, and we couldn't let any outside factors, her punishment. We couldn't factor any of that. We had to look at the evidence that was presented to us, absorb it, really understand it, and see if there's any reasonable doubt. And there was.
Oh, I was expecting it to be just done like that. Oh, wow, that was interesting. Okay, so there's that. I do feel bad. A lot of people on the internet, I hear, are being very, quite frankly, horrible to this guy that's speaking out. And maybe we should think about how we treat people that are speaking about it. Because you know what will happen? Jurors will stop speaking out after trials. If they're going to be, drug across the internet and said horrible things about, some people are going to be upset that the jury didn't find her guilty. And I get that. There's trials where they found somebody guilty and I thought they were innocent. And of course I was disappointed. But I did say they have to respect their decision, especially if they spend a long time debating it and talking about it. Now, if they come back in just a few minutes, then we can all be upset. But every single one of these jurors were picked by the Commonwealth, the defense team, and Canoni approved them. So if you have a problem with who got on the jury, maybe you might want to take that up with the Commonwealth. Maybe they should have spent $400K on a jury consultant as opposed to the garbage company, which is Aperture. but that's just my opinion. So anyway, what we got next here is we've got the Turtle Boy interview. Which, by the way, does anybody know if he's having anyone on his show this weekend? I bet he will. I wonder if Karen will go on his show. He's talked to her before, if I do recall. Okay, let's see what Turtle Boy has to say. Do I have this pulled up? No, Llama. You got to add it to the stage. There we go. Well, look at us go. All right.
Very involved in this trial to see the verdict. What was your reaction?
It was emotional, man. It was just, it's something I've been dreaming about for a long time, and to actually live it, it hasn't set in yet what happened. It was just, I've been mentally preparing for this day for a long time, both the worst and the best. And I'm so happy that it was the best.
And how would you characterize what you've done for this trial?
I'd like to think I've shined a spotlight on it, you know, with my journalism and my activism.
That's true.
I've exposed several lies that the district attorney has, you know, put out there. And like, for instance, speaking with Lucky Loughran, who is a major witness for the defense in this case, I interviewed him before the state police did. I found him. I found the plow driver who didn't see a body at 2:30 when he went by, who saw a Ford Edge. I found him when the state police couldn't. And 2 days later, they responded to my article by interviewing him themselves because they had no choice. So I like to think that, you know, I put a spotlight on it. I made it sure that made it so that they couldn't hide what they were doing.
Now, in a lot of cases, a lot of high-profile cases, we haven't seen the social media outreach that we saw in this case. Do you feel that you're responsible in some way for the verdict today?
I think I had a little to do with the social media aspect of it. I don't know
Well,
about
that's
the
true.
verdict because you know, these are 12 impartial jurors who made this decision. But I'd like to think that some of the evidence that was presented to them in court was a result of my journalism and my influence and my activism online. And so in that regard, and just spreading the word about it, man. Like, I've been doing standouts. We put up billboards all over Norfolk County for Free Karen Reed. I made a video called Framed that's gotten over 1 million views. So it was almost impossible to live in Norfolk County and not know about this case. I spread awareness about it. They wanted this to be in the darkness. They did not want anyone to know what was going
100%.
on there. And I made that impossible for them.
Anything else you want to mention? I guess seeing the verdict out. Were you outside?
Love him or hate him, he's not wrong.
In there. What was it like inside the courtroom?
The most emotional experience I've ever been a part of. It was like an emotional roller coaster. Just seeing Karen Reed and her team in there, how nervous they were. Alan Jackson pacing around like I've never seen him before. Like unknown, not knowing what was about to happen. It was crazy. And to finally hear not guilty, you know, was just you realize, oh my God, it's over. Karen Reed is free. It's finally over.
Well, now there's the question, though. Who killed John O'Keefe?
I know who killed John O'Keefe. The people inside Brian Albert's house did. I don't know who exactly delivered the fatal blow, but Brian Albert was in there. Colin Albert was in there. Brian Higgins was in there. And the dog was in there. And quite frankly, every single person inside that house who has remained silent is just as guilty as the people who delivered the fatal blows to John. They did it.
Wow.
Anything else worth mentioning?
Nope. I think we're good.
Nope. That's all I got to say about
Mark
that.
Barton
Oops,
here
sorry.
from Sandy Hook.
There we go. Hold on, let me. Which do I have on here? Okay, so I don't need that one because that one's super sad. I mean, yeah. Yeah, Turtle Boy had a lot to do with it getting attention. You know, I know a lot of people hate him and don't like him, and that's fine. I don't have an opinion of him at all. I have never watched anything he's ever done. But, you know, do you guys think that they're gonna go further and investigate John O'Keefe's death? No, I don't. It's not gonna happen. Because if there's one thing the police usually don't like to do, it's admit that they're wrong. As well as a state that spent millions of dollars on that. But let's hear what Karen's dad, William, but I think he goes by Bill. Let's see what he had to say in this interview that he did yesterday. It looks like it's kind of a long one, but that's okay.
Feeling very elated, grateful to God for this ending. It's been a long 3.5 years, long time coming. But while we've seen the worst in humanity over the last 3.5 years with the corruption, we've also seen the best in mankind, particularly the women. So many women out there, standouts at the courthouse over this week, in the hundreds. I know state police estimated there were about 3,000 people there today.
Wow.
And so many women identify with Karen because at some point in their lives, you know, they have been objectified and dehumanized or victimized in some way or another. And you know, with Karen, they see that strength and that courage to fight against the government that has, you know, unlimited resources. And so it's been a great win for us. We've
Is that their phone? They still have a landline?
Karen's incredible fight, fortitude, strength, and willingness to persevere and not give in. And, you know, she assembled a remarkable team of talented and passionate attorneys. David Yannetti was our first on board, then Alan Jackson and Liza Little from LA, and more recently, Bob Alessi. So we're just blessed to have this dream team of attorneys fighting for us. And I think a lot of that passion on their part, that expertise that was unshakable that they brought to the courtroom was because they knew Karen was factually innocent. And that was, we're very fortunate. I mean, other folks who may find themselves in the throes of law enforcement and be factually innocent themselves may not have that fortune or good blessing to have this type of attorneys and this part of, you know, this immensity of support out there. Again, just the people who have turned out in support for us is just very gratifying and heartwarming. And at a time in my life over the last 3 years, I've lost a lot of respect for what goes on in some of these communities. So I'll leave it at that.
How has it been? You talked about the struggles. I'm sure it's been a very tough time. It's 4 years that you and Karen and the family have been fighting. How has it been to fight the accusations, to have to fight that despite knowing what you and the family felt was true and the defense team? How has that been for you and the family?
The accusations really didn't trouble us. I drove that Karen's vehicle home that day. It was parked right here when it was seized by Michael Proctor, the now fired and disgraced Michael Proctor of the Massachusetts State Police.
You tell him, Bill.
I know the condition of that taillight, and I know that the injuries to John O'Keefe, including those dog bites, were not the result of Karen Reed's vehicle backing into him. I drove it home in that snowstorm. So when you've got that belief and assurance that, you know, your loved one is factually innocent, then you've got to fight with everything you've got to see this through to a just ending. And there have been times it's very, very difficult because law enforcement and the government has unlimited resources through their ability to tax people.
Mm-hmm.
The number one food for regular BMs, huh?
Oh.
Okay, let's see.
Fastest way to clear out stuck poop is by adding more fiber to your diet.
There you go. There's your fun fact for the day, guys.
So are you saying that
I must be in the wrong account.
It was
Sorry.
You against this entity that you guys were fighting, you and Karen and the family?
Well, there's no doubt about it. You know, the law enforcement has power, and it's difficult to put down that power. But I think so many folks saw this situation for what it was, a setup, a frame up, and push back. And when society pushes back and you get courageous men and women who are willing to take a stand, you know, a case in point would be Officer Nick Barrows, who was brought here on that Saturday and testified in court that the condition of that taillight was not as what was shown to him in court in the Sally Port of the Canton Police Department. So that's just one example. And, you know, you look at The Department of Justice was involved in this case from the early on. They were the ones who hired the ARCA scientists. And it was those scientists that determined the injuries to John O'Keefe were not the result of being struck by Karen Reed's vehicle, or that Karen Reed's vehicle, the damage to it, all right, was the product of being struck by a 216-pound, 6'1" man. And yet, even with that type of strong, objective, independent evidence, and truly, they were hired by the Department of Defense, U.S. Attorney here in Massachusetts. They also provided us with the text of Michael Proctor. Without that, much of this might not have come to light. You know, the idea that he's been fired from the Massachusetts State Police, the lead detective on this case, fired for his conduct, his bias in this specific case. And, you know, that's something, that's remarkable. So there are some strong people out there, and some, all right, we're so, you know, grateful to them all. Prayers, all right, from so many.
What, in all these 4 years that you've been going through this ordeal, what has held your family
Thank you,
together?
Pilola's mom.
Where has
Thank
gone?
you.
Obviously, Karen has had you as support, but how has the family come together? How hard has it been?
I love this guy.
For the family.
Well, we're very mindful of our finite presence here on this earth. So, you know, we are churchgoers, we're Roman Catholics, we're believers in Jesus Christ, his mother, and we are dedicated followers of the church, and we pray daily. And if you don't have that, there's something, you know, that is very difficult then to come to grips with things. So we just continued to believe that God Almighty would see us through this. And he has, as you can see. I mean, this is a very glorious day for us in this family.
Overall, you know, I spoke to your wife, Karen. How are you all feeling today after? Elated.
I mean, for the last 3+ years, I've been in this house knowing the unlimited reach of the government. And always you hear a door shut, right? You hear a horn. You go to your window because you never know, all right, the next step they're apt to take. And so there's relief. It's finality to it all. And I thank so many hundreds of thousands of people who have come and said prayers for us, sent us texts, letters, flowers. Just so gratified. Again, I've seen the worst in mankind over the last 3.5 years, but I've seen the best in humanity.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure. Today, Karen said, in one of the things she said is that no one has fought harder for justice for John than she has. Would you be able to comment on that, on what she feels at and how she's been fighting for justice to find the real person?
Well, it's certainly not the task of this family, nor for Karen. I mean, for the idea that Karen fought back against these charges and fought vehemently and strongly, and we went into debt. She sold her house. She lost 2 jobs, Fidelity and at Bentley University, where she was an adjunct. Cashed out her 401.
Try this weird 30-second technique to restore healthy sugar levels. Most people continue to take blood sugar medications.
I don't understand these ads. Sorry, guys. I clearly am on the wrong account, so that's why we're getting commercials.
And in so doing, freeing herself, essentially cast a light on, well, what happened then? If it's not her. Don't forget, she's now been freed, all right? Even though the first trial, because the decision of the jury was not made public, twice she's been found not guilty of murder.
It's weird.
And so, these jurors had been at it for hours in their deliberations and weeks listening to testimony. And so, it's when she says she's fought for John O'Keefe, she's fought for her own freedom and getting back her name. And in so doing, it's opened up the eyes of those in the media and just casual observers. Why is she fighting so hard? She could take a plea, but she refused to ever take a plea for something she did not do.
Was there ever any doubt?
Never.
In the family?
Never. Never. Karen would have been the first to say to me, and I was with her at that hospital in the morning, if she had done something wrong, she would have said, Dad, I'll take my medicine. Never. There's never been any doubt. Karen Reed is factually innocent. All right. She was found not guilty, but I will tell you, she's factually innocent. Look at the body. Look at the wounds or lack of wounds, aside from the abrasions, all right, from an animal, from a dog to his right arm, and to the deep laceration on the back of his head. Look at there's nothing else. There's no bruises, broken bones, torn ligaments. If he was struck by a 6,000-pound SUV, which my daughter was driving, you'd see something below the knees, in the torso, around the chest. I mean, we're all reasonable people. Just look.
So sweet.
Just look. You're out of Rhode Island, WJAR. You're former Rhode Island medical examiner, state medical examiner, Dr. Elizabeth Laposado. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Came and testified. And she said those injuries were not consistent with getting hit by a car. So, it's when you look at the physics, the science as provided by ACA, and then you look at the medical testimony and the medical evidence, whether it be from Dr. Elizabeth Posada or from the state of Massachusetts' own medical examiner, Dr. Scotty Bello. She said, all right, that she could not conclude that he wasn't hit by a car. In other words, it's possible. And the abrasions to the arm. And so much so, she could not conclude the manner of death. She could not conclude it was homicide. So, I mean, the evidence is overwhelming, compelling, but still it took us 3.5 years and 2 trials.
How, maybe last question for me, how is Karen feeling?
Elated.
What is the spirit? What is the spirit?
Elated. And also her attorneys. I mean, this was their fight too. I mean, the hours they put in, people see Bob Alessi or Alan Jackson doing a cross. That cross, all right, an order of proof has to be developed over several days. You just can't go in cold. You have to develop that. And same thing with the summation. Alan Jackson's summation, which so many people remarked on, all right, was just, so much on the point. I mean, hours. I know he went through multiple iterations.
All right, this feels almost illegal to know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed to be replaced.
At least it's not a weird
so I called a few
thing.
So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Does the family want, because I know Karen says she wants justice for John. Does the family want the case reopened to figure out what happened here?
We don't have that power to even, make that wish. We just don't. They have had the resources to look at this case over the last 3.5 years, given they knew the evidence from ACA, they knew the evidence from the medical experts, they knew the public, all right, was upset. The public overwhelmingly upset about what was going on here. Well, they've always had the resources to look at it. So it's, what they choose to do, they'll do. And if they don't, it's now been 3.5 years. How much of that evidence has been destroyed? Who knows? So,
Would it be something that she would advocate for?
We just want our lives back. She's got her life back. She's, as she made a statement outside of the court today, I don't know if you were out there. It was incredible, wasn't it? By her fighting for her freedom, fighting for her factual innocence through multiple hearings over the last 3.5 years, 2 trials. That was her, if you will, her statement that not only am I factually innocent and I am being wrongfully accused and charged here, but other eyes need to be brought on this to look at this.
Chat.
So,
last question, I'll let you go because I know you guys covered a lot already. Getting her life back, what does that even look like now?
I don't think our lives will ever be the same.
No.
You know, I mean, this case started off, it was once a time we had trouble generating media interest in this. And now, you know, it's become a national, if not international sensation. And why? Why? Is it because there's a Hollywood attorney involved? A relatively young, successful woman? No, it's because of, all right, all of the dynamics associated with that. What happened? All right, a cop lost his life, found on the lawn of another cop. All right, and you've seen much of the testimony, and then alleged cover-up, corruption, has all of the facets for something that's so intriguing as well as alarming. So, okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I love that guy. I don't think I've heard Mr. Reed talk before, and I love him. We need to protect him at all costs, is all I'm saying. What a sweet, sweet man supporting his daughter like he is. Oh, well, you guys, those are all of the interviews. Now, chat, if you want to know which account I was on, it's actually the True Crime and Wine Time account was the one I was using, which is funny. I don't know why we got those targeted ads, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? But, you know, he said some very important things. You know, I know there's a lot of people that are like, she's guilty. She's guilty. But like, okay, then how do you explain the Department of Justice then? How are you going to explain that? You think they're in on it too? You think the Department of Justice actually really gave a shit about this? That they wanted to conspire along with a civilian and spend all this money? And then Michael Proctor got fired because of the bias in this case. I mean, that right there should tell you everything you need to know. But I understand everyone is entitled to have whatever opinion they want, even if it's a wrong one. I'm just kidding, though. But I do think, I know there's a lot of venom being spoken on the internet. I don't have social media for a reason, but just try not to contribute to the venom that's going out there, right? Because as I said earlier, future jurors may not want to speak out. Witnesses may not want to speak out if people are getting harassed and stalked. You know, let's work it back a little bit and calm down. Now, I know none of my lovely supporters and followers and fans would be like that. But when you see somebody up to some no good on the internet, just tell them. Be like, hey, go touch some grass. Okay? It's okay. It's okay. No, we have not seen Michael Proctor's latest interview with 2020. I think that's the one that was last night, was 2020. But we might watch that in our Discord server, the Courtyard. So if you haven't, join our Discord server. That's where we all hang out when we're not live. And later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on this channel, is True Crime and Wine Time, and we're going to be covering the case of Thomas Sweat. You guys, he's an arsonist, but there is, let's just say, if you like some of my targeted ads that apparently showed up today, you're going to like the story. It's so weird, but the lovely Cap'n and I will be on together tonight while our lovely Terry True Crime is getting some rest and going to the doctor and hopefully doing better. But yes, I very much plan on watching disgraced former trooper Michael Proctor. Ugh, that guy, I can't even believe he's showing his face. It's crazy. I wouldn't. Bring your feet, guys. Oh my gosh. There were so many good, by the way, the chat, you guys are hilarious. But I was like, Is now a good time to put up all these jokes? Probably not. But you chatters, you always make me smile, make me laugh. And as I said, I have the best chat in all of the internet. Yes, ditto with Sammy Sunshine. Sammy Sunshine said, oh, Jen McCabe made a statement. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay, Jen. Were the words in the news report her actual words, or is she gonna be like, I didn't say that? Yes, that's right. Me and the lovely Cabin will be on True Crime and Wine Time. So if you were wondering, hey, what does Cabin look like in person? What does she sound like? Check us out here on True Crime and Wine Time, 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Oh, it was a written statement. So eventually she's just going to be like, well, I didn't actually write it. Our lawyer wrote it, but he didn't actually include the things that I said. And I would never do that because I am just a normal mom. Jen McCabe. Jen McCabe. But yes, thank you all for being with us this afternoon, for being a part of this Karen Read trial journey that we all watched together. The best days. It was the longest 2 months, but honestly, it went by so fast because all of you guys were around and made it such a wonderful, fun experience. And I'm looking forward to watching more trials with all of you. We finish up Lori Vallow Daybell tomorrow, and then I don't know what we're going to watch next week. But if there's something you want to see, please leave a comment, DM one of us in Discord or email, whatever you guys want to do. You just let me know what you're interested in watching, and we'll see what we can get together. She's just a soccer mom, you guys. Just a soccer mom. Oh, thank you, Dave. You guys are the best too. So glad that things, this trial's brought a lot of people together, splitting some people apart, but for the most part, we made it fun and kind here. So, you guys, I need to take a break because I've been on till 8:30 and I got a show later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to see you all there, right? So you can see me and Cabin. But yeah, I'm going to go take a break, get everything I need done for the show tonight. And if you don't see it tonight, remember 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning for Couch Court with Llama. Okay. All right. Bye. Go forth and be amazing. Bye, guys.